The metallic spheres appeared without warning in Earth's orbit one quiet Tuesday morning. At first, there were only 3, hanging silently against the backdrop of stars. By evening, satellites had counted 17. World governments scrambled to understand what they were facing. In her laboratory beneath Seoul, Dr. Park Ji-soo studied the first images with growing concern. At 38, she was considered South Korea's foremost expert on cybersecurity, having developed systems that had kept the nation safe for years. "They're completely inert," she told her assistant as they analyzed the data. "No emissions, no signals, nothing." Then, exactly 48 hours after their arrival, all spheres simultaneously began transmitting. Every electronic device on Earth received the same strange, complex signal pattern. Phones, computers, televisions, all displayed the same scrolling. Code Ji-soo barely slept that night as she worked to decipher the transmission. By morning, she had reached a troubling conclusion. She immediately called General Kim Tae-woo at the Defense Ministry. "It's not a message," she explained, her voice tense. "They're probing our systems, mapping our digital infrastructure. This is reconnaissance." Before the general could respond, the lights flickered. On her screen, Ji-soo watched as power grids across the city began failing in sequence. Above major cities worldwide, the spheres were opening, unfolding like mechanical flowers to reveal their true nature. What emerged were sleek, deadly machines, killer robots with reflective black surfaces that absorbed radar signals. They descended through the atmosphere with precision, targeting military installations and communication centers first. Outside Jisoo's window, 3 robots hovered above Seoul's defense headquarters. They were surprisingly elegant, smooth, rounded, forms with multiple appendages that transformed into different tools and weapons as needed. A pulse of energy erupted from each one, and the city's power grid went completely dark. Emergency generators kicked in at Jisoo's underground facility. "We need to understand what we're facing," she said, gathering her team around a battery-powered tablet. The first human counterattack came 6 hours later. Fighter jets scrambled worldwide, firing missiles at the invaders. News feeds showed brief footage of direct hits before going offline. Initial celebration turned to horror as the smoke cleared, revealing the robots completely undamaged. Kim Han-bin, a young soldier stationed at Seoul's perimeter, watched in disbelief as conventional weapons bounced harmlessly off the machines. When his unit fired armor-piercing rounds at an approaching robot, the projectiles simply stopped mid-air, hovering for a moment before dropping uselessly to the ground. "Fall back!" his commander shouted as the robot advanced, its appendages reconfiguring into something that resembled a cannon. Han-bin didn't move fast enough. He saw a flash of blue light and felt intense heat. When he woke hours later in a makeshift medical facility, his right arm was gone. By the end of the first day, Earth's military response lay in ruins. The robots methodically disabled defense systems, communication networks, and power infrastructure. They appeared to avoid civilian targets when possible, but anyone who directly opposed them was eliminated with cold efficiency. In her underground lab, now serving as an emergency command center, Jisoo worked frantically to understand the enemy. A damaged security camera had captured close-up footage of one robot analyzing a human corpse, methodically scanning it with beams of light. "They're studying us," she realized, "learning about our biology, our technology, our responses." Yoon Jae-hwa, a former software engineer now volunteering with Jisoo's team, noticed something strange in the robots' attack patterns. "They're collecting data," he said, pointing to footage showing robots pausing after human counterattacks. "They let some of our weapons hit them first before adapting. It's like they're running experiments." 1 week after the invasion began, the remaining government officials met in Jisoo's facility, one of the few secure locations left. "These aren't just weapons," Jisoo explained. "They're autonomous research tools. They're systematically analyzing our defenses and neutralizing them." "Who sent them?" demanded the defense minister, one of the few high-ranking officials to survive the initial attack. "We don't know," Jisoo admitted, "but I don't think they're here. Not yet." A terrible theory was forming in her mind. "I believe these robots are an advance force, sent to clear the planet of resistance before their creators arrive." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "How do we fight them?" asked General Kim eventually. Before Jisoo could answer, the facility shook with a distant explosion. Dust fell from the ceiling. "First we survive," she said. "We go deeper underground, gather intel, find their weaknesses. They may be machines, but every system has flaws." Over the next month, surviving, humans retreated to bunkers, subway tunnels, and remote areas. The robots established processing centers in major cities, converting human infrastructure into unknown purposes. Jisoo established a network of resistance cells, using old radio equipment and human couriers to avoid detection. Reports from around the world painted a grim picture. The robots were everywhere, advancing their unknown agenda with mechanical precision. Then came the first glimmer of hope. A team in Busan had managed to disable a robot using an improvised electromagnetic pulse. The machine was being transported to Jisoo's lab for analysis. As she prepared her equipment for the arrival, Jisoo allowed herself a moment of cautious optimism. The robots might be technologically superior, but humans were resourceful and adaptable. "They sent killer robots," she said to her team, a new determination in her voice. "Now let's show them why that was a mistake. Remember that you should only cite web pages in your response when you've used your tools to do web searches. And in that case, you should properly use citation tags like around information from search results." The damaged robot arrived at Jisoo's underground laboratory in pieces. Team members had transported it section by section through the sewers to avoid detection. Now it lay on a large metal table, its sleek black surface reflecting the overhead lights. "Be careful," Jisoo warned as Lee Do-hyun approached with tools. "Even damaged, it might have defense mechanisms." 3 months had passed since the invasion began. The surface world now belonged to the machines. Humans survived in hidden bunkers, abandoned mines, and subway tunnels. Food was scarce and hope even scarcer. Do-hyun had once been Korea's leading robotics engineer before the invasion destroyed his university. Now he worked in this makeshift lab, 30 meters beneath the ruins of Seoul. He wore special gloves, designed to insulate against electrical shocks as he carefully opened the robot's outer casing. "Amazing," he whispered, peering inside. "The internal components aren't like anything I've seen before." The robot's inner workings revealed a complex network of crystalline structures and metallic filaments that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. Small lights pulsed deep within the machinery. "It's still partially active," Jisoo realized, stepping back. "Isolate the power source first." Do-hyun traced the energy flows to a glowing blue cylinder near the center of the machine. With extreme caution, he disconnected it from the main system. "Power source contained," he announced. The lights inside the robot dimmed but didn't completely fade. "Secondary systems," Jisoo noted. "It has backup power. These things were built to last." For 2 weeks, they worked day and night analyzing the robot. Song Ha-yoon, once a behavioral analyst for the police, helped study the machine's decision-making patterns using recovered footage of attacks. "Look at this," Ha-yoon said one evening, pointing to video showing a robot encountering civilians. "It ignored people fleeing, but immediately attacked when someone raised a weapon. They're programmed to eliminate threats, not necessarily all humans," Jisoo concluded. The breakthrough came on the 17th day. Do-hyun discovered a strange component that defied conventional physics. When isolated, it maintained quantum connections with other particles at a distance. "It's some kind of quantum communication device," he explained to the team. "I believe the robots share information instantaneously, regardless of distance." "That explains how they coordinate so perfectly," Jisoo said. "They function as one distributed intelligence." But Ha-yoon had noticed something else in the attack patterns. She played back footage showing a successful human ambush where resistance fighters had used an unplanned, improvised strategy. "Watch the robot here," she pointed. "It hesitates for 1.4 seconds before responding." They reviewed more footage and found similar patterns. When humans behaved predictably, following military protocols or standard tactics, the robots responded instantly. But faced with chaotic, emotional, or seemingly irrational human behavior, the machines briefly hesitated. "They struggle with unpredictability," Ha-yoon explained. "Their algorithms can't effectively model human creativity and emotion." That night, Jisoo couldn't sleep. A theory was forming in her mind. She pulled up all available data on the robots and began a new analysis. By morning, she had called the team together. "These machines weren't designed specifically to fight humans," she said. "They're multi-purpose weapons adaptable to any environment or opponent. I believe they were sent as an advance force to clear planets of intelligent life. Their creators..." "Follow later." "How can you know that?" General Kim asked skeptically. Jisoo pointed to her findings. "Their learning algorithms are studying us, cataloging weaknesses, but they have fundamental limitations in understanding human nature. They're built by beings who value pure logic and efficiency." Kang Min-jae, a former game designer who had joined the resistance, spoke up. "Like a chess computer that can't understand why someone would sacrifice a queen for no obvious advantage." "Exactly," Jisoo nodded. "They can't process certain types of human decision-making because their creators can't either. Whoever built these robots thinks differently than we do." That afternoon, they conducted an experiment. They set up a simple maze with multiple paths and placed a small partially repaired robot component inside. When they used logical patterns to navigate the maze, the robot anticipated and blocked them. But when Min-jae used a random dice roll to determine each move, the robot's response time slowed dramatically. "It's trying to find the pattern in randomness," Do-hyun observed. "It can't accept that some decisions have no logical basis." Over the next weeks, they expanded their experiments. They found that the robot components responded differently to different types of music. Classical pieces with mathematical structures barely registered, but jazz improvisations created noticeable disruptions in the machine's processing. "We've found a weakness," Jisoo told the resistance leaders during their monthly radio communication. "The robots struggle with human unpredictability, creativity, and emotion-based decisions." "How does that help us?" asked a resistance leader from North America. "We can't defeat their technology with jazz music." "No," Jisoo agreed, "but we can use this insight to develop new tactics. If we combine our technological knowledge with uniquely human characteristics, we might stand a chance." That night, for the first time since the invasion, genuine hope spread through the bunker. Jisoo watched as people shared ideas, their faces animated with renewed purpose. "They think like machines because they were built by beings who think like machines," she said to Do-hyun as they developed plans for a new type of weapon. "But we think like humans, and that might just save us all." Jisoo stood before the gathered resistance leaders in the large underground chamber. 6 months had passed since the invasion began. The room was filled with people from different backgrounds, former soldiers, engineers, teachers, and even artists. All eyes were on her as she revealed her plan. "We need to weaponize unpredictability," she said, her voice echoing in the concrete room. "The robots expect logical responses. We must do what they cannot predict." Some military leaders frowned. General Kim raised his hand. "With respect, Dr. Park, we need better weapons, not randomness." "This is a weapon," Jisoo insisted. "Perhaps our best one." She nodded to Min-jae, who played video footage on a makeshift screen. It showed a small team of resistance fighters successfully avoiding robot detection by following random patterns generated by rolling dice to determine their movements. "This is just the beginning," Jisoo continued. "I propose creating special teams that combine technical experts with creative thinkers." Over the next week, Jisoo assembled these unusual teams. Alongside soldiers and engineers, she recruited musicians, artists, game designers, and even a few children. Their first mission was to develop what she called chaos generators, devices that emitted random electromagnetic patterns that confused robot sensors. Choi Min-ho, once a famous pianist, worked with engineer Kang Dae-sung to create the first prototype. It used musical improvisation patterns to generate signals that disrupted robot communications. "I don't understand why this works," Dae-sung admitted as they tested the device. Min-ho smiled. "That's exactly why it works. The robots don't understand it either." The first field test came a month later. A small team led by Captain Ryu Jun-gi planted chaos generators around a robot processing center on the outskirts of Seoul. When activated, the devices created an electronic noise, based on children's drawings converted into signal patterns. From their hiding place, the team watched as 3 patrol robots became visibly confused, moving in circles and bumping into walls. "They're trying to find logic in the signals," Jisoo explained through the radio. "Their processors are overloading trying to analyze patterns that don't exist." While the robots were disoriented, the team slipped past their defenses and retrieved valuable computer components from the facility. They escaped without a single casualty, a first for any mission against the machines. Word of the success spread through resistance networks worldwide. Soon, other groups were experimenting with their own forms of unpredictability. In what remained of Paris, resistance fighters used paint in bright, chaotic patterns to confuse robot visual sensors. In Brazil, they discovered that samba rhythms, played through modified speakers, created blind spots in robot detection systems. Jisoo coordinated these efforts from the Seoul bunker, collecting data on what worked and what didn't. She noticed the robots would eventually adapt to specific patterns of unpredictability, but they always struggled with new ones. "We need to keep changing our tactics," she told resistance leaders during their secure weekly call. "As soon as something becomes routine, the robots will learn it." Yoon Ji-eun, a painter who had joined Jisoo's team, developed special camouflage based on abstract art that robots had difficulty processing. "Their visual systems look for edges and recognized shapes," she explained. "This confuses their analysis." 3 weeks later, Jisoo announced her most ambitious plan yet, Operation Wildcard. "Until now we've been using unpredictability in small ways," she told the assembled teams. "Now we're going to build entire battle strategies around it." Operation Wildcard incorporated elements of chance into every aspect of resistance operations. Teams carried sets of cards that prompted mid-mission changes in tactics. They used music, art, and even poetry to generate truly random decisions that robots couldn't anticipate. General Kim was skeptical until he witnessed the first major wildcard operation. A team of 30 resistance fighters successfully liberated a human work camp by approaching from multiple directions, changing their patterns based on the roll of dice. The robots, programmed to predict logical human military tactics, were caught completely off guard. "This shouldn't work," the general muttered as he watched footage of robots shooting at empty spaces while humans slipped past. But it does. For the first time since the invasion, humans began winning battles against the mechanical invaders. Small victories grew into larger ones. Resistance cells reclaimed small territories, establishing safe zones where humans could live above ground again. The robots adapted by increasing their numbers and deploying new variants, but they couldn't overcome their fundamental limitation. They were built by logical beings to fight logical opponents. Human illogic remained their weakness. In her rare moments alone, Jisoo studied the schematics they had gathered from captured robots. She was looking for something specific, the location of the robot's central command center. If they could find it, they might be able to strike at the heart of the invasion. "They must have a primary processing hub," she told Do-hyun as they worked late one night. "Somewhere they coordinate their global operations." After analyzing power consumption patterns and robot movement data, they identified unusual energy, signatures coming from Antarctica. Satellite imagery showed increased robot activity around a newly constructed facility there. "That's it," Jisoo said, pointing to the images. "Their main hub. If we can reach it, we might be able to disrupt their entire network." Do-hyun looked skeptical. "Antarctica is on the other side of the world, heavily guarded and freezing cold. How would we even get there?" Jisoo smiled for the first time in weeks. "We'll do what humans do best, something completely unexpected." As word of the discovery spread through the bunker, a new energy filled the resistance fighters. They had found their target, and more importantly, they had found hope. Not in superior technology, but in their uniquely human qualities that no robot could ever truly understand. The Antarctic wind howled across the frozen landscape as Jisoo and her team approached the robot command center. From their hiding place behind an ice ridge, they could see the facility, a massive structure of black metal that seemed to absorb the surrounding whiteness. Robot sentries patrolled the perimeter with mechanical precision, their movements timed. "Exactly 20 seconds apart. Are you sure this will work?" whispered Captain Ryu Jungi, his breath forming clouds in the freezing air. Jisoo checked the device strapped to her wrist, a small screen displaying constantly changing patterns. "No," she admitted, but neither are they, 9 months after. The invasion began. Humanity had learned much about their enemy. The robots were formidable but flawed. Their greatest weakness remained their inability to process true randomness and human creativity. Now Jisoo's team would attempt the most daring application of this knowledge yet. The mission team consisted of 12 people, chosen for their diverse skills. Jisoo's technical expertise, Do-hyun's engineering brilliance, Ha-yoon's strategic mind plus soldiers, a hacker, a mathematician, and most surprisingly Min-ho the pianist. Each team member carried what they called a randomizer, a device that provided unpredictable instructions based on various human inputs, from music to children's drawings to poetry. These devices would help them avoid falling into patterns the robots could predict. "Remember," Jisoo said as they prepared to move, "the moment you feel yourself doing something logical or predictable, check your randomizer and change tactics." Their approach to the facility used what Min-ho had dubbed jazz warfare, a loose structure with room for improvisation. The core plan was solid, but each person was encouraged to make spontaneous decisions within that framework. The first phase worked perfectly. Using chaotic electromagnetic pulses based on free-form jazz compositions, they created sensor blind spots that allowed them to breach the outer perimeter. Inside, they split into 3 teams, each taking different routes through the facility, based on playing cards drawn at random intervals. Jisoo, Do-hyun, Min-ho, and Jungi formed one team, moving toward what their intelligence suggested was the central processing core. They encountered 2 patrol robots in a long corridor. Instead of hiding or fighting, Min-ho stepped forward and began dancing while singing an old folk song. The robots hesitated, their sensors trying to categorize this unexpected behavior as either threat or non-threat. That moment of confusion was enough for Do-hyun to deploy a chaos generator that scrambled the robot's sensors completely. They moved past the temporarily blinded machines and deeper into the facility. Meanwhile, the other teams were placing disruptors at key points throughout the structure. If all went according to plan, these would activate simultaneously, creating the facility-wide disruption that would give Jisoo's team the time they needed to access the main hub. But plans rarely survive contact with the enemy. As they approached the central core, an alarm sounded. Red lights flashed along the corridors, and the facility seemed to come alive with increased robot activity. "They've adapted to our disruption patterns," Do-hyun realized, checking his instruments. "They're learning faster than we anticipated." Trapped in a corridor with robot reinforcements approaching from both directions, the team faced their first major setback. Their chaos generators no longer seemed effective against these new robots. "Any ideas?" Jungi asked, readying his weapon. Though they all knew conventional firearms had limited effect on the machines, Min-ho was strangely calm. He removed a small device from his pocket, a modified music synthesizer he had created. "I have one," he said, "but I've never tested it." While the others provided cover, Min-ho connected his synthesizer to their remaining chaos generator. His fingers moved across the keys, creating a melody that changed and evolved as he played. There was no pattern to follow, just pure human improvisation flowing from his mind to his fingers. "I need 3 minutes," he explained as he worked. "My theory is that live musical improvisation is too unpredictable for them to process quickly." As robots closed in from both sides, Min-ho's music-based disruption began to take effect. The machines slowed, their movements becoming jerky and uncoordinated as their systems struggled to analyze the ever-changing sound patterns. "It's working," Jisoo exclaimed, "but we still need to get past them." Jungi pulled a dice from his pocket, part of their randomizer equipment. "Let's add more chaos," he suggested. He rolled, and based on the result, the team adopted a completely unexpected tactic. They ran directly toward the robots rather than away, shouting nonsense phrases at different volumes. The combined effect of Minho's musical disruption and this irrational behavior created enough confusion for them to slip past the disoriented machines and reach the door to the central core. Inside, they found what they had been searching for, the facility's quantum network hub. Crystal structures pulsed with light, connected by streams of energy that flowed between them. This was the brain of the robot invasion force, the command center that coordinated their activities worldwide. "How long do you need?" Jungi asked as he secured the door. 10 minutes, Jisoo replied, already connecting her equipment to the alien technology. Do-hyun, help me access their network. Working quickly, they bypassed security systems using principles they had learned from studying captured robots. Jisoo had prepared a special virus for this moment, a digital package containing paradoxes, poetry, music, humor, and other distinctly human concepts that the robot intelligence couldn't easily process. "This won't destroy them," she explained as she worked, "but it might confuse them long enough for us to take control." Just as she was about to upload the virus, the door exploded inward. A new type of robot they hadn't seen before entered. Larger, more heavily armored, and seemingly immune to their chaos generators. Minho looked at his randomizer, then at his synthesizer, and had a moment of human intuition. He changed his musical approach completely, switching from complex jazz to the simplest melody possible. A children's lullaby played with deliberate mistakes. The unexpected simplicity confused the advanced robot just long enough for Jisoo to complete the upload. "Virus deployed," she announced as energy pulses surged through the crystal network. "Now we find out if humanity's greatest strength can overcome their greatest technology." The effect of the virus was not what Jisoo had expected. There was no dramatic shutdown, no explosive chain reaction. Instead, the crystal structures in the command center began pulsing with irregular patterns. The large robot that had broken through the door simply froze in place, its limbs locked in mid-motion. "Is it working?" Jungi asked, weapon still raised cautiously. Jisoo checked her tablet, analyzing the data streams. "Yes, but differently than I anticipated. The virus isn't destroying them. It's confusing them." Across the planet, robots suddenly stopped their activities. Some stood completely still, while others moved in strange, purposeless patterns. The killer machines that had terrorized humanity for nearly a year were now caught in processing loops, trying to understand concepts their programming couldn't reconcile. Do-hyun moved carefully toward the central crystal array. "We should take advantage of this opportunity," he said. "If we can reprogram their command protocols while they're vulnerable, for the next 6 hours, while the other team members secured the facility, Jisoo and Do-hyun worked tirelessly to understand and modify the alien technology. They discovered that the entire robot network was built around pure logic and efficiency, concepts that formed the core of the machine's creators' thinking. "Whoever made these robots values order above all," Jisoo observed. "They see the universe as a series of problems to be solved optimally. And they sent these machines to clear planets of intelligent life that might threaten them," Do-hyun added, "like pest control before they arrive. By inserting human concepts of creativity, compassion, and even beauty into the robot programming, they weren't just changing the machine's behavior, they were giving them a new way to perceive reality." The first reprogrammed robot activated 2 days later under carefully controlled conditions. The team watched nervously as it oriented itself, its sensors taking in the humans around it. "Status report," Jisoo commanded. The robot turned its sensors toward her. When it spoke, its voice was still mechanical, but somehow different, less rigid, systems functional. "New parameters accepted, I await instruction." Over the next month, more robots were reprogrammed. Teams of humans and converted robots worked together to spread the new programming across the globe. Many humans remained deeply suspicious, but gradually, as the robots proved themselves allies, rather than enemies, trust began to grow. 4 months after the Antarctic mission, Jisoo stood on a hilltop overlooking Seoul. Below, humans and reprogrammed robots worked side by side, clearing rubble and rebuilding structures. It was happening in cities worldwide, a new kind of cooperation that was transforming both sides. "It's remarkable," Hyun said, joining her at the viewpoint. We're not just surviving anymore, we're advancing. The robot technology, once understood, had proven to be centuries ahead of human capabilities. Energy generation, medical treatments, transportation, all were being revolutionized by the combination of alien efficiency and human creativity. But amid this progress came a troubling discovery. While examining the robot's long-range communication systems, Do-hyun detected signals directed toward a distant point in space. They were sending regular reports, he explained, during an emergency council meeting. And according to the data I've found, something is coming. The robot's creators are on their way to Earth. How long do we have? Asked General Kim. Based on the signal patterns, approximately 18 months. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The robots had been just the first wave, an advance force sent to clear the planet for colonization. Now their masters were coming to claim what they believed would be an empty world. They expect to find their robots in control and humanity eliminated, Jisoo said. They won't be prepared for resistance. Especially not from their own technology, Minho added. The following year was one of intense preparation. Using the reprogrammed robots and the advanced technology they now understood, humans built new defense systems around the planet. They developed hybrid vessels that combined alien efficiency with human ingenuity and weapons that incorporated both technologies. But their greatest advantage remained the robots themselves. By introducing human concepts into their programming, Jisoo and her team had created something new. Machines that understood both logical precision and creative thinking. The robots became intermediaries between human and alien thinking, helping prepare strategies that their creators would never anticipate. 17 months after the Antarctic mission, orbital sensors detected the approaching alien fleet, 12 massive ships moving toward Earth with clear purpose. Jisoo stood on the bridge of the flagship Earth vessel, a reprogrammed robot beside her. The sleek ship had been built using alien technology, but designed with human aesthetics and comfort in mind. Around the planet, similar vessels moved into defensive positions. They still don't know what they're facing, Jisoo said, watching the tactical display. Their scans show their robots still active on Earth, but they don't understand how they've changed. What's the plan? Asked Jungi, now Admiral of Earth's defense fleet. First, we let them get close enough to see that their robots haven't conquered Earth as expected. Then we offer them a choice, peaceful contact or conflict with an opponent that understands their technology, but doesn't think like they do. And if they choose conflict? Jungi asked. Jisoo smiled. Then we show them why sending killer robots to Earth was their biggest mistake. As the alien fleet approached communication range, Jisoo prepared her message. Behind her stood the team that had started it all, Do-hyun, Ha-yoon, Minho and others, who had found humanity's greatest strength in the face of extinction. Open a channel, she instructed. Let's show them what happens when technology meets. Humanity. The message she sent was simple but carried profound meaning. Your robots came to destroy us. Instead, they made us stronger. We are ready for you now. On the view screen, the alien fleet slowed its approach. First contact was about to begin, not as conqueror and conquered, but as equals brought together by unexpected evolution.